Higher earnings for immigrants who studied in Canada. Immigrants who studied in Canada earned more than those without Canadian study experience, according to a study by Statistics Canada in 2022. The formal education in Canadian learning institutions provided them with high-quality occupational skills tailored toward the Canadian labour market, which increased their ability to integrate into the Canadian economy and society. Canadian education can be an advantage for students looking to become permanent residents, as many federal and provincial immigration programs value candidates with Canadian education and work experience. Immigrants who studied in Canada have been found to earn more, according to a study by Statistics Canada in 2022. The study revealed that immigrants who studied in Canada and had Canadian work experience earned significantly more during the first 2 years after immigration than those without Canadian study experience. The report attributes this to the better official language ability and acquired Canadian work experience of those with Canadian study experience. The study also found that those with Canadian study experience tended to be younger, more educated, more likely to speak an official language, and more likely to have pre-immigration earnings in Canada than immigrants who did not study in Canada. This article will discuss the benefits of the Canadian study experience, the process of studying in Canada, the study to permanent residence pathway, and various immigration programs such as express entry and provincial nominee programs. The study by Statistics Canada found that despite the tendency of those with Canadian study experience to pursue further schooling in the initial years after immigrating to Canada, they earned more in the long term. This was because their formal education in Canadian learning institutions provided them with high-quality occupational skills tailored towards the Canadian labour market, and increased their ability to integrate into their communities in the Canadian economy and society. The report also revealed that as economic immigrants worked more in the Canadian labour market, pre-arrival characteristics became less important in accounting for the earning advantages of studying in Canada. If you are interested in studying in Canada, the first step is to choose and apply to a Canadian Designated Learning Institution, DLI, such as a university or college, and obtain a letter of acceptance. Once you have been accepted to the DLI, you can apply for a study permit from Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, IRCC. To be eligible to apply for a study permit, you must prove that you have sufficient financial support to cover the first year of tuition, living expenses, and return transportation to your home country. Obtain a Quebec Acceptance Certificate (CAQ). If you wish to study in the province of Quebec, have a clean criminal record, be in good health, and satisfy the immigration officer that you will leave Canada at the end of the stay authorized by the study permit. International students who graduate from a post-secondary institution in Canada may have options to extend their stay and ultimately become permanent residents. Canadian education can be an advantage for students looking to become permanent residents, as many federal and provincial immigration programs value candidates with Canadian education and work experience. After completing your education in Canada, you may be eligible for a post-graduation work permit, PGWP, which allows you to gain Canadian work experience for up to 3 years. To be eligible for a PGWP, international students must have completed studies in an academic, vocational, or professional training program that is at least 8 months long at an eligible DLI, have the study program lead to a degree, diploma, or certificate, have held full-time student status in Canada during every academic session of the program of study, and included as part of their post-graduation work permit application, and have obtained a transcript and an official letter from the DLI, confirming that they have met all requirements to complete their program of study. While holding a PGWP, you can apply to several federal and provincial permanent residence programs, such as Express Entry and provincial nominee programs. Express Entry is a system that manages applications by IRCC, and is the primary way the Canadian government welcomes economic class immigrants. Express Entry manages 3 distinct programs: the Federal Skilled Worker Program, FSWP, the Federal Skilled Trades Program, FSTP, and the Canadian Experience Class, CEC. Each of the 3 programs has minimum eligibility criteria that a candidate must meet to be eligible for Express Entry. To be eligible for the FSWP, immigrants must have at least 1 year of full-time work experience in a skilled occupation, meet the minimum language proficiency requirements in either English or French, and score sufficient points in the Express Entry Comprehensive Ranking System, CRS, based on factors such as age, education, work experience, language proficiency, and other factors. For the FSTP, immigrants must have at least 2 years of full-time work experience in a skilled trade, meet the minimum language proficiency requirements in either English or French, and score sufficient points in the CRS. For the CEC, immigrants must have at least 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada in the last 3 years, meet the minimum language proficiency requirements in either English or French, and score sufficient points in the CRS. Provincial Nominee Programs, PNPs, are immigration programs operated by individual provinces and territories of Canada to attract and retain skilled immigrants to meet their labour market needs. Each PNP has its own eligibility criteria, application process, and selection process. PNPs can be a pathway to permanent residence for international students, who have completed their studies in Canada and have obtained Canadian work experience. In conclusion, studying in Canada can provide international students or immigrants with many benefits, including higher earnings and increased opportunities to become permanent residents. By following the necessary steps to apply for a study permit and attending a Canadian designated learning institution, international students can obtain Canadian work experience and apply for various immigration programs such as Express Entry and provincial nominee programs.